One final point before we go tonight.
If elected president, trust me, every worker in this country will make at least $15 an hour.
Oh, wait. Unless the workers work for Bernie Sanders' presidential campaign. You can't make this stuff up. Bernie Sanders, who claims that anything less than $15 an hour is a, quote, starvation wage, who says that every worker deserves at least a living wage of $15 an hour, who says, quote, the greed must end, and who celebrated the House Democrats passing a bill that forces government to mandate a $15 an hour minimum wage across the country. All the while, Bernie Sanders himself refused to pay his own campaign workers $15 an hour until, of course, his own workers exposed him to the media. Because socialists are always do what I say, not as I do. What a hypocrite. And you know what Bernie Sanders did when he was exposed as a hypocrite? He did eventually promise to raise the wage for his workers to $15 an hour, but then he cut their working hours. So in other words, raising the minimum wage causes people to lose jobs because employers can't afford to pay them. If only somebody had warned Bernie this would happen. Oh, wait. This is literally what conservatives said would happen. If you raise the minimum wage, employers can't afford to pay their employees. So the employees either lose their jobs entirely or they see their hours cut. Of all the places I expected to get proof of this, I have to say I did not expect it to be from Bernie Sanders himself. Now, we had a Democrat on this show yesterday who said, well, campaigns are different. Campaigns are smaller than, the so-called big business, and they don't have the money to pay their employees at that rate. Yeah, they can't afford it just like every other small business in our country. Remember, 50% of American workers work for small businesses. Can you imagine how many people will have their hours cut if Bernie Sanders got his way and government mandated a $15 an hour minimum wage? Here's the thing. Minimum wage hikes hurt low-income people the most. People lose their jobs because employers can't afford to pay them. People's hours are cut. Because of this, it becomes harder to break into the workforce, which hurts people in poverty the most. The prices of consumer goods goes up too because companies pass on that increased cost of minimum wage to the consumer. And this hurts low-income people the most, who now have to pay more money for basic necessities. Hiking the minimum wage does not help the poor. Remember, 57% of people in poverty in our nation do not have a job at all. And a large number of minimum wage workers are actually secondary earners in higher income households. In fact, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, if we raise the minimum wage to just $10 an hour, not even all the way to $15, only 18% of that increase in income would go to low-income people, while 32% of that increase in income would go to households in the upper half of the income distribution. It does not work. And Bernie Sanders is a raving, hilarious hypocrite. And that is my final point.